What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Wednesday morning. And today might be the day, Marcel, because it's going to be, hopefully, you would think, Rasmus Hojlund Day at Manchester United. Yes, we've got the very latest details on United's summer striker signing. He was at Carrington yesterday. He was in Manchester yesterday. The photos were there of him driving into Carrington, or his entourage driving into Carrington. Reportedly, he's completed his medical. Documents are going to be signed today, and possibly, you never know because it's quite difficult to predict these things, we might be getting an announcement today as well. So plenty to discuss when it comes to him. We're going to be talking also, as we continually have for however many mornings now, about Sofian Amrabat and how there was a bit of fake news yesterday, Marcel. Bit of fake news, fake quotes possibly circulating. So we're going to be chatting about that. Also going to be reflecting on the news. Did a video on this yesterday, but going to be discussing the fallout of it, about the stock price dropping at Manchester United because the Glazers possibly have paused the takeover process amid their unhappiness that the bids aren't high enough. Also a bit of an update on Donny van der Beek, and Fred's asking price dropped as well. But Marcel first, pleasantries. How are you doing on this rainy morning? We were just discussing the weather, weren't we?
Yeah. I'm happy that it's raining. I don't mind rain. You know, my birthday's in New Year, so it's quite cold. Usually around my birthday, so I don't mind rain. Rain's nice. It's okay. But good morning to everyone.
Your birthday's months away, though.
Yeah, but I'm used to celebrating during cold or bad conditions, weather conditions is what I'm saying. So rain to me is not.
I was gonna say that was a very strange point because it's been well documented. Your birthday's at like the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So
We're in
I'm
August.
so I'm just correlating it to say, the weather's poor. I don't mind poor weather. I celebrate my birthday during poor weather, is what I'm saying.
And we've caught you there, Marcel, because
Right.
you're a liar. I thought you didn't celebrate your birthday.
Well, sometimes I've celebrated, of course, and New Year's is a general celebration. It's a general celebration for everyone. So I'm not a big celebrator.
I remember you saying to me, "Why would I celebrate my birthday? I'm only born once. That's my birthday. Apart from
That's
that,
true.
there's
Yeah,
no
that's
need to
true.
celebrate my birthday."
That's true. I shouldn't have phrased it as celebrate my birthday then, but I do a general New Year's celebration. Everyone celebrates their birthday. I've told you that before as well, though. It's a general celebration for everyone. So I do celebrate New Year's. I go out or something. This year I might do
but that's not
something
your
nice.
birthday. New Year's isn't your birthday.
But it's the same day.
It's the same day. But when you're out, you're not. Put it this way, when the clock strikes midnight, they're not letting off fireworks in London because Marcel was born.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'm born at like 12, like 1 something. That's quite close in the morning where I'm born. I'm in a newspaper.
But they're still not letting off the fireworks because of you in London. Did you ever think that when you were younger? Did you ever think this is for me?
No, I wish, but that's why I say like I'm celebrating New Year's, and I phrased it wrong. I take that back. I don't not celebrate my birthday, but I do like a New Year's celebration. Everyone goes out, man. I can't host a huge birthday, or whatever on my birthday anyway. Because
why not?
Everyone's out, Owen.
Why not?
I wish, but everyone's out, innit? So I kind of like celebrate the day then, and then we go out and do something. But it's cold usually. You go out and it's cold.
Yeah.
That's the point I was trying to make.
I mean, and also again, it's months away. I mean, the initial question was, how you doing on the rainy day?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, good.
I'm well, and I feel good. So, and this is Rasmus Day, like you just saying. So,
Indeed.
Potentially. So I'm happy.
Indeed, Rasmus Hojlund Day. Let's start off talking about the new Manchester United striker. It could be confirmed today. Fabrizio Romano said late last night that he understands that Rasmus Hojlund has indeed completed all of his medical tests and first part of media duties as a Manchester United player. Hojlund and his camp left Carrington late last night, as official documents will be completed today on Wednesday. The next step is a club statement. So indeed, we're just waiting, I guess, on an announcement possibly coming today. And given the proximity to the pre-season friendlies at the weekend, one would think that United will want to get this done as soon as possible, or get it announced and all that kind of stuff out of the way as soon as possible. We have seen in the announcements so far this summer with the likes of Mason Mount and Andre Onana, yes, there's a bit of fanfare, but Erik ten Hag certainly likes to get that out of the way very quickly, get straight to work and have Hojlund involved. I think the positive thing, Marcel, is irrespective of whether it gets announced today or where it gets announced tomorrow, the likelihood is he's going to play a part in the preseason friendlies at the weekend. And I guess even more importantly, he will be available for that first game against Wolves at Old Trafford in the Monday Night Football. How positive is that?
Finally, we got a piece of the puzzle again. A younger striker. We was all looking at older strikers towards the end of their careers, but now it's going to be a young, hungry forward, ready to be at the club for at least 5, 6, 7 years. So it's finally the piece that we wanted. Rashford finally gets to play on the left, something that I think everybody it made sense for him to play. That's his strongest position. And then we've got a proper striker now that looks like they can finish off the chances. So let's give him some time to get used to the players, get used to the team. I think he'll play at Old Trafford, or I'd like him to play at Old Trafford. I know Andre Onana was available to play the first game against Arsenal, but didn't play. I think, but
Yeah.
I think Hojlund hopefully gets to play this big game at Old Trafford.
That'll be the interesting one. You're right in terms of how ready is he for minutes. Obviously, he's going to play some part, like you said, in the preseason fixtures. And given the way the games are going to work, I mean, Benny McCarthy said it to Flex right after the game against Borussia Dortmund that one day one group of players is going to get 80 minutes, and then for 10 minutes the rest are going to come on, and the same thing's going to happen the next day, but with the opposite group of players. So everyone's going to get about 90 minutes across 2 days, basically. That's what they're going to get. So you would think that Hojlund, like you said, is going to play a part in one of them. I mean, what's the difference of a day? What's the difference of a day? If he's going to play, if he's ready to play on the Sunday, he'd be ready to play on the Saturday, you would think. So I agree with you. I think likelihood is it probably would play at Old Trafford because that's the most important experience for him, really, isn't it? It's because we've said he's a young guy. There's a lot of pressure on him. Some could say justifiably so. So others would say not justifiably so. That's not his fault. But he's got to get used to that. He's got to get used to playing under the pressure at Old Trafford. He's got to get used to leading the line at Old Trafford. Even in a not serious game at Old Trafford, it's still a good experience. And it's not as if he hasn't been participating in preseason for Atalanta too. He was even at the Vitality Stadium over the weekend. Whilst he didn't play, he was on the bench. But he's played in preseason fixtures for Atalanta so far. So it's not a case of with Andre Onana, when Onana came out, he flew out to the States. I don't think he had played in a preseason fixture or anything like that for Inter Milan. He'd done a couple of sessions, but I think there's more than enough time and he's had enough of a preseason to participate, one would think. So again, I think that's really exciting. I've still seen, the things on social media about how he's definitely going to flop and, he's too expensive. I've also seen people add money onto the deal that's not even there. Some people are describing him as a £100 million striker. What? When did that one happen? So, and I what the thing is, when some stuff like this happens, you just want him to play because then it just puts all that noise to bed, doesn't it? And the best thing for him to do would be to play against Lens at Old Trafford at the weekend and score or something like that. Just to quieten things down a little bit and allow people, I suppose, to get a little bit excited because there is this kind of unknown with him at the moment. I mean, let's be honest. I think a lot of people that are saying that they've watched a ton of football of his are probably liars. Unless they watch Atalanta week in, week out, or they watch Serie A week in, week out, they're probably lied. I think a lot of people have the same knowledge of him as you as I, which is, I've seen some clips. I've seen some clips online, I've seen some compilations. I've seen people's analysis of him, but nothing beats the eye test, does it? Nothing beats your own eyes watching a player for 90 minutes. And even if he's not great at the weekend, it doesn't mean he's a bad signing or anything like that. But I'm really excited about that. And as you mentioned, but I don't think people really realize this enough. All of the strikers we have signed in the last however many years have all been in their 30s. And I think the youngest one's a Gallo or something like that. I mean, yes, you can include Weghorst and stuff like that, but still it's like Zlatan,
Ronaldo,
Cavani, so I mean, Lukaku was the younger one, I suppose, but the point being is that it's exciting. It's an exciting signing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think this is finally what we're looking for. A type of forward that Ten Hag. I think it looks like it suits his system. Somebody that's obsessed with attacking the spaces. He wants to be more involved with the final action. Finishing the chances. But he can evolve himself and build up and come in front of the forward line as well. So he's got a little bit of an all-round game. I think he has to tidy all of that up. He's still young. But like you said, one of the best things that he can do now is go to Old Trafford in front of all the fans and score or assist or just have a really positive match. Do a lot of the good defensive work in the forward line, link up well with Rashford. Again, all these things are going to take time. We're seeing even Manny Mount not look perfect in the system yet, but he will do. And this is positive signs, man, in front of Old Trafford. Rasmus, he's got somewhere where he will be his home for a good few years now, especially if he can hit the ground running this season, put together a good little season. And I'm just excited to welcome him, man. We haven't had an out-and-out striker that's available for so long. Look at Martial. It's been so difficult right now for us to get behind and support the forward line last season, because we didn't score many goals. We just didn't score enough goals, to be a Man United side. It just wasn't enough. And they were missing clear-cut chances as well. We had chances. We were creating things last season, I think. It's just we didn't have that out-and-out killer instinct striker. I think Rasmus, a tall frame, a tall player, someone that I think we were talking about originally when we wanted Ten Hag in. What kind of forwards does he like? And that kind of frame, the Haller kind of frame, I think Rasmus has that tall player, physical, strong. So there's a lot of attributes that he has there to build on, and potential-wise, we've all been saying it. This is a high potential player, and we're purchasing a lot of potential. And for the price to be that high, it's a lot of potential then that potentially could come out of this player. And I'm very excited, man.
What do you think? What do you think Erik ten Hag will say in his? Even if he does have a quote in the statement when Hojlund is announced, or do you think in future interviews, maybe it doesn't happen in the announcement per se, maybe in like a future interview that he does ahead of the season, do you think he's asked about the expectations on Rasmus Hojlund? And what do you think he says? Do you think he says, obviously we expect of him and we bring him in to score goals, but he is young, he's not the finished article. Do you think he sort of tempers expectations around him? And is that the smart thing to do? That actually, I need to temper some expectations around him?
Yeah, well, Ten Hag's philosophy and his mindset is good is not good enough. So whatever level you're really reaching, he's going to want an improvement on that. And then his behavior in terms of the media, how anyone asks his questions, he's always respectful to his players and protective of his players in the media. So it will be something positive, but forward thinking. It will be something positive, but targets are set and clear ambition is outlined of what he expects from his forward player. Again, it's a long-term investment, so I can only see him seeing things in a long-term fashion, and that he will continuously grow to the elite level that Rasmus is required to be at. But I think Ten Hag will be positive about it. He has to be. This is a new player coming in. He has to make him feel welcomed. I think this is a good signing, man. I got a little feeling of Laudrup. I think they're both Danish, so I've got that feeling that he can bring that kind of energy and zest to football that Laudrup did back in the day.
Super chat here from Red Baron says, do you think having Ten Hag as the manager is a blessing and a curse? He might get good enough results to keep the Glazers and the fans content. We are going to talk about the takeover stuff in a bit. I mean, I did a video on that yesterday, talking about how the takeover, certainly some of the bidders feel it might have been paused and all that kind of stuff. So we are going to talk about that. I don't know if it's necessarily more Ten Hag as the curse. I think the curse is what this whole takeover process is about, which is money. And that's the whole thing. I think the Glazers, as I said, we'll speak in it a bit more in depth, but since you've asked the question when it comes to the super chat, just the Glazers have just seen that there's more money to be made. And this whole thing has been weighing up about how can we make more money? Do we make more money by selling now and make a ton of money? We all become billionaires, or do we hold out a little bit? There's more money coming into football. Obviously, there's the huge Saudi explosion into the transfer market at the moment. And that's just obviously, affecting football where they are at the moment, but it's affecting the market. And there's a feeling that they could start coming into European football. What if they try and create their own Super League and try and merge with other European football clubs, and same way that they've merged when it comes to the PGA and Live Golf and that kind of stuff. And then you look into broadcast rights, you look into the revamped Champions League, you look into the revamped Club World Cup. You look into America's involvement in football too. From the Glazers' point of view, they think actually there might be more money to be made here. And we can sort of hold out for a couple more years. And then suddenly when there's even more money in football in 2-3 years time, suddenly we're not asking for 6 billion, we're asking for 8, we're asking for 10. So that's what it's all about. It's all about money. So I don't know how much real influence Erik ten Hag's success or lack thereof has in it. Obviously, there's an argument to be made that when it was perceived before Ten Hag came in that we were just in this massive rut and we were finished. Essentially, the Glazers puts up for sale. But again, I think more weight on that was the collapse of the Super League, which of course the Glazers were instrumental in trying to form the Super League, and also the Chelsea takeover that had just happened when they thought, hey, there's money to be made in selling football clubs here, and maybe their perspective has changed from that. But as I said, we'll talk about that more in depth as well. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Marcel, prediction then, is it going to get announced today, Hojlund?
Yes. I definitely think today is Rasmus Day. It has to be. We need to be moving on to better targets, or not better targets, more targets. And this is going to be a good day, man. This is an important day. The striker for the future. He is the man in the future. Rasmus.
For future. I would think it gets announced today as well, given again usually the timeline is I want to get these things done fairly quickly. Again, Ten Hag wants to get these things done fairly quickly. I'd be quite surprised actually if it didn't. I would be legitimately questioning what's the holdup. I mean, again, by all accounts, documents have signed. He's done his medical, so and they want him in training. That's the important thing too. He'll want the guy in training as soon as possible. So I would think it gets announced there. And of course, if it does, I'll be live whenever indeed it does get announced and bring you all of the quotes, all of the details, and all the things like that too. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Already over 1,200 people watching. It's nearly 20 minutes past the hour, which of course the Marcel maths times it by 10. So we're looking
1,800,
200.
880, 200.
We're doing well at the moment, Marcel. It's 80 minutes past and it's 171 likes. So that's close. That's close. We want to get to 200 them on good pace. I think that's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to keep up some good pace. Pace on the likes. That's what we like to see. Let's move on and talk about Sofian Amrabat. So this was a really interesting story, actually, because Amrabat was quoted saying one thing, and then some people are saying the opposite. So Amrabat allegedly spoke after a friendly game that Fiorentina had. And he said, and I quote, "I don't know if I'm leaving. Maybe I can stay here at Fiorentina." Now, Fabrizio Romano then said that he has been told there are no changes. Manchester United keep working on Amrabat and want him, but talks are on the player side. There's been no official bid yet. Reports about official bids last week were premature. It was then someone replied to Romano underneath it saying he wants to stay clearly. And Romano responded to that by saying he wants Man United, no doubts, but no bid yet. Karma, as always told you, striker, outgoings, then Amrabat talks. Someone said bid sent last week and then nothing. Premature, no bid yet. But then this is quite interesting too. Romano has also allegedly said that, quote, "I'm told from a very reliable source that Amrabat didn't say yesterday that he could stay at Fiorentina. The quote is fake. Amrabat wants to go. He wants to leave and play for Manchester United. He said yes to United already." So a bit of conflicting reports. But I think this whole Amrabat thing is kind of, it shows that it was going the way which I thought it was when those reports came out, whenever they were last week or a few days ago. Bids in, Man United have bid for Sofian Amrabat. It was very clear we haven't. We haven't bid for Sofian Amrabat because there was only maybe a couple of people saying that, but it wasn't Romano and it wasn't Ornstein. Because they're not always first, Romano and Ornstein. They're not. But if someone, a sort of smaller journalist or a lesser known journalist, says so-and-so's bid for this player, very quickly they'll come out and say, if indeed it's true, yes, they have bid for the player as per blah, blah, blah. So obviously United clearly haven't put a bid in for him, but the noises I'm hearing, the noises are all indicating that we are in for him. But I think the timeline on this is very, very clear, isn't it? It's Hojlund, get the players out, and then Amrabat. I think the only thing that could hurt us in this timeline is one, suddenly some of the players we thought are going to leave don't leave, moves collapse, things don't happen, or we don't get the right prices. And two, whilst we're trying to move those players along, because let's be honest, United don't move players on very well historically, and we can take time, and we're not very good at negotiating good prices. Whilst we're up in all of that, you never know what happens if someone does put in a bid for Amrabat. What happens if he goes, actually, you know what? I feel like I'm being messed about a bit. I'm going to go to this club. That's the concern. But I suppose if he's saying, look, I want United, then we don't have too much to worry about, do we, Marcel?
No, you'd like to think so. You would like to think that's the case, but this is professional football. Footballers get offered big wage and off they go. It's an opportunity to help their families or do whatever they need to do in their private business. Extend their careers. But it looks like positive signs, man. I think I respect the timeline now. In the sense that it's outgoings first right now. But for me, I look at that and say, what, 20 million, Maguire? Anyone? I would. Why didn't we? Why didn't we look and take that 20 million from Maguire? I would have done that happily. And then you look towards the Maguire, the Amrabat money now, or you're getting one more and another player off the books, and there's your Amrabat money. The player wanting to join the club, he respects Ten Hag. Ten Hag's a pool now. Ten Hag attracts big players, or players that are hungry, creative players, good footballers, footballers tailored for his system. This is a top manager, man, and a top club. So I can only see one club that he would want to join once they offer a contract for him, or want to go once he's reported that Manchester United want to pay for you. Then of course, why wouldn't you want to come and join United?
It does feel like with the Amrabat one is that, I mean, it's been reported by quite a few people that maybe United have already agreed personal terms with the player, which is not really out of the norm, because we've seen again with these deals that we've done in Mount, in Onana, and particularly Hojlund. I mean, the deal hopefully is going to be announced today. We agreed personal terms with Rasmus Hojlund allegedly in May, months and months ago. So the fact that we've agreed personal terms with Amrabat is, no giant revelation or anything like that, but it doesn't suggest that a deal is super imminent either, because it's still, like with the Hojlund one, it still suggests like it can take time, and United certainly will take time in this one. I'm still fairly confident that we'll end up getting him, because I think there's clear enough indications that he is definitely a target for United. And as time goes on and you look at those pre-season fixtures, you can actually see with your eyes where he would fit into that team, exactly why he's needed. And obviously Ten Hag's worked with a player, and if Ten Hag wants a player, he tends to get them, particularly if he's worked with them in the past, apart from someone like Frankie de Jong or Arnautovic, when obviously that was wild, that whole situation. but the point is that I still feel fairly confident this would happen. My only worry is that his price to me is so reasonable and so low for a player of his quality. I mean, suggestion of 25 million euros or something, that my only concern would just be another club just goes, Amrabat's available for 25 million euros. Maybe we put a bid in, because he's not bad. I mean, there were reports yesterday suggesting that I think West Ham had put a bid in, or they were interested, and Amrabat had said, I'm not interested because I want to go to Man United. But that's West Ham. What happens if, I don't know, a Liverpool suddenly go, hey, I want to, we'll put a bid in. What's to stop that? So I do think United have to be still somewhat cautious. And also, you speak about Ten Hag. There's no way that, particularly now that this Hojlund deal is near enough done and might get announced today, that he's not already poking John Murtough going, what's going on with Amrabat? Can we get him in before the beginning of the season? Like, what's the timeline about that? So when do you think, if indeed it does get done, when do you think it will get done? Is it a case of, could he play that first game at Wolves, or is that too much at this point?
That's a good question. I think it's going to get done before the Wolves game, but he plays the next game after. Because I don't think Ten Hag puts you in the firing line straight away. I think he's got a strong midfield situation going on with rotation, and Amrabat has to work his way into that, and we'll claim a space. I mean, I don't want to speak too much on it, and it don't happen. But Amrabat would be a fantastic signing, and I think it happens before the start of the season.
I don't think it happens before the start of the season. I think this is one that will drag into the season, I think. And that's only because we're just slow. We're slow at selling people. And we do have to get the right price. I've said that a million times, but we do have to get the right price. And we'll talk about some exits a bit later on. But my feeling is that some of these exits might take a bit more time. And because of that, the Amrabat one might take a bit longer. I mean, obviously, look, one thing is that if we have a big exit, someone like you said, McTominay, 40 million or something, pays for the Amrabat deal. Go do it, and then you can spend the rest of the window getting rid of the people for lesser money or something like that. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. We've got over 1,400 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. Again, we're on good pace still when it comes to likes, Marcel. 26 minutes past, we're at 256. That's not bad. That's
bad.
Good. That's good pace.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, click that like button and be sure to subscribe to bottom right-hand corner. See what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Let's have a look. Joe Blackman says it's now time to sow. I guess that could refer to not only United players, but also the Glazers too. Wow, so people saying, Minna's in the chat, big up Minna, says, United have agreed terms with Amrabat with a thumbs up. Yes, as we mentioned, United indeed have. It's just a case of waiting to sell players before we can actually put bids in and buy him. Ash says, Fred should go to Fulham, McTominay to West Ham. Good moves for them. We'll see indeed if both or just one of them leaves. One thing's for sure, I think Fred's going to leave. McTominay, I think it depends on the bid, certainly. Let's talk about the takeover stuff, Marcel, because I want to get your thoughts on this, because this was a story yesterday that was quite alarming but not surprising, and I did do a whole video on it, so be sure to check it out, which was essentially one of the bidders, if not both of them, the two main bidders, so either Sheikh Jassim or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, feel that the takeover process has been paused effectively by the Glazer family. Of course, we knew that the Glazers were still going to be in charge when the Premier League season begins against Wolves, but for however many weeks it's been now, we've really heard nothing when it comes to updates. If anything, when Kaveh Solokol was on Sky Sports News last week and he said that we might hear some takeover developments this week, we were almost quite surprised because we'd really heard nothing. I remember recently Jamie Jackson from The Guardian had said that Sheikh Jassim and the 9Q Foundation had really heard, again, radio silence, nothing since they last put their last bid in, which is the fifth or sixth bid, I forget, because there's been so many at this point. So the story yesterday was that effectively it's been paused, they think, by the Glazer family. Now, the reason they think why the Glazer family have decided to pause this entire process is because they believe, well, it's kind of twofold. One, they're not happy with the bids that have come in. They feel that they should have received more and a higher amount for Manchester United. They're looking for a world record fee. The offers are world record fees for the club, but still they're looking for higher. They've always been looking for around £6 billion. Sheikh Jassim's bid, which is really, you know, the most viable one on the table, considering that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid was effectively dead because the minority shareholders have said, look, if you accept it, we'll sue you, we'll threaten litigation. And we believe that there's precedent to kind of block this, which meant that the independent board of directors said, well, with that in mind, we would never recommend that bid anyway. So it kind of left one bid on the table, even though Ineos are still technically in the race. But the problem is with that only bid on the table from Qatar, Marcel, is that it's for £5 billion, not £6 billion. And the Glazers unhappy with those bids. And on top of that, as I mentioned earlier on, they believe that more money is coming into football at the moment when it comes to, again, the Saudi kind of footballing takeover, the Champions League, revamp, the Club World Cup. In addition to that, they've just signed this new sponsorship deal with Adidas, which is a world record deal for a Premier League club, £900 million over 10 years. So their feeling is, hey, these bids that have come in, they're too low, and there might be more money coming in. So maybe we could sell or try selling again in a couple of years. And maybe we could make even more money. We could be looking for even higher than 6 billion, possibly 8 billion, 10 billion, something like that. Now, in reaction to this story, which came from iSport, and some people, rightfully so, said yesterday, can't believe you're making a video on this. It's coming from iSport. It's not really a reputable outlet. Well, certainly the stock market, which we know can be volatile, they reacted significantly yesterday because after that report was put out, the stock price tanked. It didn't just drop, it tanked. It dropped by over 8% yesterday, going from just over $22 a share to just over $20 a share. So dropping by about $2. Again, an 8% drop, which in Wall Street terms is very significant. Park the stock price to one side, Marcel. What did you make of that report yesterday that this process might have been paused? And what's next? Is it just more weeks and months of uncertainty and sort of mystery surrounding this whole thing?
Well, I'm starting to get a bit upset about it all right now. You know, I was but well, for me, starting because I genuinely believe that I've never been overly worried about it. I've always thought to myself, the end goal is the Glazers leave. That's it, done. And it always felt like that was getting weeks, months, days, minutes closer to that goal. But now it's like, you know, we're in limbo a little bit. It's still going to remain that way. And listen, it's funny what Redburn was saying before is Ten Hag a gift and a curse. Because for me, I always believed Ten Hag would be successful at this club, regardless of who the chairman is. Ten Hag will find a way. So is he a curse then in that sense? Because the Glazers potentially could stay on for, you know, a few more years because Ten Hag will find an era of very good consistency for half a decade. So, you know, I'm a bit worried about that. That's what I see happening, and then maybe the Glazers do stay on. And before last season, I was always saying to people, well, is there a way for us to be successful under the Glazeronomics? Ten Hag could be that way. So it doesn't fill me with confidence, long term. But they need to get on with it. I think they're pausing it obviously to see what the Qataris do, to see if they maybe up their bid to 5.5 billion, 5.75 billion, somewhere in and around that region. I would think they might shake hands and get the takeover process completed. But I just hope that we hear something by the end of this year now. Stretch it out to the end of this year, because the beginning of the season, it definitely won't happen.
I think with this whole thing, again, as I said yesterday, all it's ever been about is money. It's never been about what's best for the club. It's never been about what's best clearly for the fans. They could give two shits about that. It's only ever been about money. And realistically, again, you have to trace it back and go, why did they put the club up for sale in the first place? Or why did they explore these strategic alternatives? That was the statement at the end of November. And again, that was about money too. It was twofold, really, or even maybe threefold. It was, firstly, you look at some of the facilities and the projects that they had to undertake, which was the stadium needs massive renovation. Frankly, it might need knocking down and building back up again, or building somewhere else. It's that far behind the times at this point. Training ground was the same. Investment in the academy. So all those projects were there. The Glazers couldn't afford to do and didn't want to do. Richard Arnold said it in the pub last year. Around this time last year, he said, if we're going to do that, we need sponsors. And they meant that we need investors. So that's why they were looking at minority investors when it comes to that. On top of that, they saw the sale of Chelsea. They saw the amount of people that were interested in purchasing Chelsea at the time. And they saw the amount of money that was going in. And they said, hey, and rightfully so, we're bigger than Chelsea. We're way more valuable than Chelsea. We can get way more for Chelsea than Chelsea was sold for. Granted, their takeover was a bit different. Oh my God, yes. Let's put the club up for sale. We can make a load of money. And by their accounts, they're not happy with the bids that have been put in, because they thought they could get more. Again, because it's about money. It's only ever about money. And then on top of that, when you talk about finances, they were looking at the cash balance being ridiculously low. They were looking at the debt spiraling out of control. They were looking at inflation on the debt that was already leveraged against the club. And they thought, let's just wash our hands. We're not going to pay it off, because why would we do that? We're going to get someone else to do it, and we'll make ourselves rich at the time. So it was only ever about money. And irony of all ironies, the thing that stops it from happening, or potentially could prolong it, is the fact that they think they could get more. It's about making more money. This whole thing, it was about making money, and they think, actually, maybe we can make more. Maybe we can get more for it in the future, again, because it's not about the health of the football club. It's not about what's best for the football club. It's not even about success. That's why when I look at Erik ten Hag and the perceived success he does or doesn't have on the field, and people saying, oh, maybe that's going to play a part in it, I think, again, it's a very, very, very small part of it, honestly. I don't think United winning the Carabao Cup last season and Avram Glazer, shaking Ten Hag's hand, or being at the FA Cup final or anything like that, I don't think he thought, actually, you know what? We're going to stay. We're going to stay based on this. Because in terms of, again, money involved in that, that's small pennies compared to what they're really talking about, which, again, is possible future projects and possible future investment. When they're looking at, again, all of these things that are being expanded. I mean, part of the thing of them putting the club up for sale in the first place was the Super League failing, which, again, they were incredibly instrumental in. I mean, they were going to the banks and getting funding for it. They were massively a part of that. And people thought, wow, that was their sort of last Hail Mary attempt at getting enough money to secure their ownership, blah, blah, blah. It failed. But as people say, the Super League failed then, but it didn't go away. And it could just come back in a different form. I mean, the Champions League, as we know it, is changing, partially because of the pressure that the Super League put on it. Because, again, those clubs that are involved in the Super League wanted more money, and they didn't think UEFA was being fair when it came to the money. Now the Champions League is changing. More teams are getting involved, more match days, more money, and less chance of not making it in there. Because, again, that's what teams are terrified of. If they don't qualify for the Champions League, what happens to our bottom line? So that's changing. Then you've got the Club World Cup as well. Another competition with clubs all around the world. More money. Again, they look at Saudi Arabia and they say, hey, they're putting all of this money into their football teams, into their league, but eventually they're going to want to try find a way, if it's possible, to mix with European football. What if they say, a bit like with Live Golf, let's make our own thing. Let's make our own cup competition. We'll bring some sides in from around the world. We'll invest it. We'll bankroll it. Screw the banks. We don't need them. We've got our own money. We've got the Sovereign Wealth Fund. That's got billions. Look how much money they've spent already. And I think they've committed to something like 30 billion over however many years. It's an insane amount of money that they're willing to commit. So again, they're looking at that, the Glazers too. It all comes down to money. And again, it's not coming down to, and we can sit here and go, oh, it's bullshit. They don't care about the club. Newsflash, they've never cared about the club. They've never, ever, ever cared about it. So, you know, clearly the reaction yesterday in terms from the Wall Street and the stock market was get out now. You know, the stock prices surged over these last 10 months, 8 months, however long it is. And but it's going to go down because they might be staying, or at least they're staying for the foreseeable future. And again, it's sickening. It really is.
So what's the likelihood of it happening anytime soon? Then you definitely think no way.
It's not going to happen anytime soon. No chance. Unless literally the only thing I think that could change the Glazers' minds at this point would be if Sheikh Jassim just said, "Screw it, enough's enough," and gave them just an absolute ton of money, which would be like their 6 billion price. But I think, and this is even the wildest thing, Marcel, yeah? They want 6 billion. That was their price from the beginning. I don't even know if you put 6 billion on the table right now, if they'd say yes, because there's always the whiff of more. And that's, again, why this thing has been paused or postponed, is because there is the whiff of more money in the future. They believe they can get more. And they've, you know, the last thing they would want is to sell it. And then in 2-3 years' time, look at it, oh, man, United's worth, you know, 8 billion, 10 billion. Well, that should be our money. That could have been us. That could have been our money. That should be ours. We should have a part to play in that. And maybe that's why they were even interested, you know, when those reports about Ineos leading the race, why they were interested more in that than Sheikh Jassim is because they were still technically involved in that thing. They could have been minority investors. So even in the future, you know, if they did get fully bought out, they could get more. There was always an element of making more money. So it's not surprising, you know, because again, when you think about it, maybe we've been smoking and drinking the hopium and copium for however many weeks, because when you sit back, you go, well, nothing's happened. Well, nothing's happened. And again, takeover processes I know are long, but not this long, especially if you've got willing, determined sellers. That's what we keep hearing too. Oh, the Glazers, they are determined sellers. They're at the right price. What price? So I don't even think in their heads they've got a price at this point. I think if you gave them the asking price they were looking for, the 6 billion, excuse me, I don't even think they'd take it now. And I think it's going to be really interesting now to see what the fan reaction has to be. I mean, luckily there's a game at the weekend at Old Trafford, you know, but ultimately, again, it's incredibly disappointing. Really, really disappointing.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. And when we get to this kind of stage where, you know, the club's being held for ransom, basically, for God knows how long, and it literally feels like we're at the last stages now. But then all of a sudden this news comes and they put it further away from us. I just feel like, you know, there's going to be a lot of noise the whole of next season if something doesn't happen, you know, concrete, where we see them leaving the club and we get to, you know, start fully on a new chapter with the club. They've been horrible, man, and teeth and money, even dividends. You know, they've seen the spreadsheet, the balance sheet and everything, and they were still happy to even take dividends from the club. So the Glazers are rubbish.
Indeed, and I think, like you said, even the dividends, they dried up as well. They couldn't take them. But again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. Some super chats here. Amanor says, Wasau, will you know protest at Old Trafford? Or do you know of a protest at Old Trafford? I think, like I said, you have to wait and see on social media and stuff like that. I think, again, that story was quite fresh yesterday. So if there's any information, I would say check social media when it comes to that. Red Baron says, who is Mario if Marcel is Wario? Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Who is Mario? Mina's Mario.
Mina is the only other person I can think of, Emil Micah.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. But your name doesn't begin with W.
I don't know, but you guys changed it to W.
That was a Josh thing. Josh came up with Warsaw, I think. Kristen says, we all need WJ Barrett's optimism on this sale. I think we need more than optimism at this point. Red Baron says, how much money does one person need? When it comes to the Glazers, not enough. You know, there's never enough. And Kyle says, do the Glazers not realize that no one will want to deal with them if they take the club off the market? They're ruining the only they can control. I'm not sure that last bit. But I mean, the thing is with stuff, again, they don't care. I mean, in football, just in general, money talks. So there will be outrage and there will be, and I think the fans have to be the people that hold them accountable and give them, you know, repercussions, because, like I said, I think it's crazy to me that they can dangle that carrot like this for 10 months and it's going to, and they can get away with that. You know, there were protests even before the club was ever put up for sale, let alone when it was. And then if they decide, oh, actually, you know what, we don't want to do it anymore. That's when you have to get serious. That's when you have to get serious about all that kind of stuff. But as far as, you know, businesses not wanting to deal with them, ultimately, again, money talks. And don't think that, you know, corporate, don't think it's not just the Glazers. If there's money to be made from anywhere, people will make it. That's business, unfortunately. So again, if we get any more updates about that today or over the next few days or weeks regarding the takeover, the stock price, etc., we'll let you know in future videos. We've currently got over 1,500 people watching. We're currently at 350 in terms of likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. It's 42 minutes past the hour. We're a little bit behind. We were on good pace.
Yeah.
And we just dropped a little bit. If this was a race around the racing track, around the athletic track, we started strong, Marcel. We were front runners, just dropped a little bit. Just dropped off a little bit. We're flagging the pace. Yeah. We should have carb loaded. We should have carb loaded last night. You know what I mean? Had some pasta or something like that. And King Stash with the super chat says, what do you think of this idea? We could convert Dalot into a right winger. I think he'd pass and cross more than our current wingers. Might link up well with Hojlund and keep Wan-Bissaka right back. Any chance, Marcel?
Wow. I think Dalot's mastered the right back position. I think he's very clever in terms of how he positions himself to cause overloads all over the pitch in the Ten Hag system. So I think he'll stay as a right winger. I actually think, you know, I've been getting onto Sancho a lot, you know, this whole window, and I do think he should be one of the players to be sold. But you know, with Hojlund there, you know, similar to how he was linking up with Haaland, funny enough. He could have a really good season. Sancho could have a decent season, and he needs somebody that, you know, has got the burst of pace, you know, strong, physical, can play the 1-2 and the bounce passes off, and a physical presence up front could actually suit Sancho's game. So he could finally, you know, produce some sort of consistent form or good season for us this season. But if he doesn't, he has to go. So I don't think Dalot should go as a right winger. I think he still needs to work. His aerial duels, you know, in terms of in the box, is fantastic. He just needs to get better with his 1v1 defending, which Wan-Bissaka pushes him, you know, to get better at. So I think that combination of those two fullbacks is fantastic for our side. And
the right back position is always just fascinating to me at United, because just when you think there's a person that's got it, you know, the other person comes in and you go, actually, because I've been last however many weeks, well, months really, I've been like, I think Wan-Bissaka's number one right back, and he is at the moment. But then you can't judge things off one preseason game. But Wan-Bissaka came on against Real Madrid. He was awful. I mean, you can't even put it, you know, any less than that. He was awful when he came on. And Diogo Dalot not only scored the goal, but he played well. And going forward, obviously, his link-up play and his technical ability is much superior to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But defensively, you would say, well, Wan-Bissaka is a better defender than Diogo Dalot. But if you've now got this new goalkeeper and you're going to be trying to play out from the back more, Wan-Bissaka can be possibly a bit more of a liability, as we saw against Real Madrid. So I think that position is just going to continue to flip throughout the whole season, continuously like that. The one thing I will say is, like you said, I do think if with Dalot is that I do think there might be more room for him to develop. And if he, like you said, if he does just up that defensive side of things, then you go, actually, look, he's a good technical player. He can really fit. He does seem like he would be a better fit into a Ten Hag style, and, you know, ultimately where he wants to go. But again, you can't take away what Wan-Bissaka's done over the last, about 8 months or so. His development and improvement has been remarkable. Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the next story, which is about Real Sociedad and Donny van de Beek. Now, what's interesting about this is yesterday, Marcel, we were chatting that this wasn't going to happen, and now suddenly it is going to happen, because Fabrizio Romano has said that Real Sociedad have approached Manchester United yesterday for Donny van de Beek. It was the first formal contact between the clubs after initial talks on the player side last week. Clubs are now discussing the formula and terms of the deal. It will depend on conditions set by Manchester United. United. Now, according to the Daily Mail, Donny van de Beek has been deemed surplus to requirements, and Manchester United are willing to let him go for around £25 million. Now, when it comes to Real Sociedad's point of view, and maybe this is why there were those reports that they weren't interested, now they are interested again. There were initially concerns from Real Sociedad about Donny van de Beek's injury record, but they have nevertheless chosen to enter talks with Manchester United about a possible transfer. £25 million for Donny van de Beek, Marcel. You taking that?
Yeah, 20 million. I'll take 20. All of them. Like I said, I think it was yesterday. Everyone should go for 20 million. We need to get them off the books as soon as possible. Amrabat needs to come in for the Wolves game, and you need to go and look at your additional striker or your never centre back. That's 40 million that we could be talking about right now, plus the 200k wages a week for Maguire, and how many other wages it is, 100 or 80 odd k a week that is for Van de Beek. You know, you could have already done that if you just taken taken it as soon as it comes through the door. I would have taken it. That's 40 million raised and a load of wages, which is maybe 10 million or so, 5 million. So between the two in wages per year. Well, let's go, make it happen. And then you're looking towards having the squad that Ten Hag, closer toward that now. The squad that Ten Hag wants. The reason why you can't get these players off the books is because of the Ed Woodwardness. Ed Woodward was putting these players on 200k a week because he's a banker and not a football man. So you're gonna have to take your losses now anyway. You're gonna just have to accept that predicament. You know, he signs them on 3, 4, 5 year contracts. Yeah, I know, I'm crazy. 3, 4, 5 year contracts, and on astronomical wages. You know, with extremely low ability. That's what the previous regime done. You can't get rid of that and still think you're going to get a fantastic price for that kind of poor money management. You have to take the loss, and that's what we should have done with Maguire and with Donny van de Beek. Accept the 25 million, accept the 20 million as soon as possible.
I think 20 to 25 million, I think it's good. I was expecting less, honestly, for Donny. Remember how much we bought him for? I think was it 35, 40? It wasn't even that high amount of money. So I think that would be good money for him. And people can say, oh, the Donny van de agenda, all that kind of stuff. As I've said, I thought in the last 2 preseason games, I thought he played really well or played well. I think he does look. I think he looks sharp. I think he looks sharper than I've probably seen him. But ultimately, I don't think there's a lot of room for sentiment on this one because it hasn't worked out. He's been at United for 3 years and he needs to leave the club for the sake of his career. I was doing a bit of reading last night after this was reported. He hasn't played for the Netherlands since 2021. He hasn't, and again, there's a variety of issues involved in that. You know, he was selected for the European Championship squad. He had to pull out through injury, which again goes back to Real Sociedad's concerns, injuries, because he's had them. Obviously, just coming off the back of a long-term injury. He went to Everton on loan, was really dominated by injury. I think played 7 times for them. Missed out on a European Championship because of injury. But he wasn't selected for the Netherlands squad for the 2022 World Cup because he wasn't playing at United. He just wasn't involved, and he hasn't been involved for a really long time. And there's a variety of reasons why it hasn't worked out at United. You could say injuries. You could say quality, physicality of the Premier League. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means he's not right for United and not right for the Premier League, maybe either. But I see a move like this, apart from maybe going back to Ajax, which I think would be the ultimate move for him, the perfect move for him. Going to the league, I think, would work really well. More technical league. He's still physical, but not as physical as the Premier League. And it's where he was going to go initially. People thought he was going to go to Real Madrid, and it didn't work out. But I think that would work out well for him. And at this stage, he just needs to be playing every single week. I think, like, if he was playing every single week, he would work his way back into the national team side, and then, you know, he could build up his career better that way. He is not going to play every single week for Manchester United at this stage. He's just not. I mean, the conditions are all there for him to do it. I mean, he's got Erik ten Hag as his manager again, and he's still not playing every single week. Why? Because there are players ahead of him, and it's just not. You know, the league just might not be for him. It just might not be. It doesn't make him a bad player. It just means that the league, maybe United, whatever, it just hasn't worked out. And my concern was that a player coming off the back of a serious injury, someone again that hasn't played for their country since late 2021, and we didn't buy him for all that much. I thought, we struggled to get good money for him. If we can get 20 million for Donny van der Beek, I think that's really good business. I think that's really good business. So I'd be all over that. I think that would be good. Again, it'll be interesting to see if indeed we get that much. I wouldn't be shocked if it turns into 15 plus 5 in add-ons or 15 plus 10 in add-on. That might be where they go with that one. But indeed, Real Sociedad have made a Donny van der Beek approach. Let me just double check if we've got any more super chats. Indeed, we do. Lil Yo-Yo says, Marcel, is 20 your favorite number? Need to sell better. What is your favorite number, Marcel? Do you have one? I can imagine that you would.
Nah, I don't know. But if I was to say a number that I do like, it's 10, maybe 27, 10 or 27.
27?
Yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
Oh, so it's a door number. So it's one of my old door numbers back in the day.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the unique numbers that have a story behind them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My favorite was just 1, but then that was just because he's playing goal 1. That was it.
Yeah. But that's the unique story behind it. You know, it's not. Andre Onana's number is 24.
24. Yeah, it's true.
So it's not one. True. So you have your story behind it. You got to still respect.
Although I really liked when the goalkeepers had, they'd been like 99 or something like that. I like that.
Dida for AC Milan, I think, had a different number than 1.
I think he might have been 1. I'm not sure. But then they changed that in the Premier League. Because I remember, I think it was Renato Sanchez came in when he went on loan to Swansea. And he had like a really high number, like a 99 or something like that. And they said, you can't have it. You've got to be like, it's got to be within sort of the squad numbers and the squad like limits. So unless you've got 99 players or something like that. It was a very strange
in Italy,
but I like that.
In Italy,
yeah. I'd want to have 99. Why not? So a little side topic. What's your favorite number? Let us know in the chat. Or if you're watching afterwards, let us know in the comment section below. We'll know you made it this far into this video. What's your favorite number? Finally, let's talk about Fred. Speaking of numbers, United have lowered the number when it comes to the asking price for the Brazilian international midfielder. According to Alfredo Padula, Manchester United have lowered their asking price for Fred to 12.9 million pounds after initially wanting 17.2 million pounds. Galatasaray are expected to make an improved offer to Manchester United for Fred in the coming days. Is that a bit low for you, Marcel? About 13 million for Fred? Were you hoping for more?
Fred's a top player. He's a top player, and 20 would have been a nice number for it. Funny enough.
Or 27.
Or 27. But I don't mind. Honestly, guys, for me, the most important thing is I want Ten Hag to have a squad where every single player he purchased. And to get closer to that, you got to get rid of these players. So I don't even mind what price it is. Especially these players that have been surplus to requirements or have been inadequate for me. For the last few seasons where we've been so poor, haven't been competing for Premier Leagues. These are not Premier League winning footballers, unfortunately. I would want them to be, and then maybe you can argue for the price because they're going to really change the dynamic of top teams. But they're not going to do that. Fred's not going to change the dynamic of a top 3 team. He's not. He's going to be a good squad player for that team. So get rid of him. I want a Ten Hag squad player or a Ten Hag player with high potential. A Malacia, a Hojlund, an Eriksson. Then I'll be worried about these players' prices coming and going, value for money. Even though Eriksson's a free, so it's going to be good value for money. But we have to worry about that. For me, anyway, I'm worrying about the bigger goal of these players must go. Get them out. I don't care about the price. Let me get the money and look at how much money I have, and then where I can spend and go again in the market.
I mean, I know that Fred is, how old is he? Is he 29 or 30 at this point? Obviously, got a year left on his contract. 13 million feels light. It does feel light. And I get your point when you say, look, you just get him off the books. Fred plus another player, you can get Amrabat. But that does feel particularly light for him. Again, he's a Brazilian international, and it's not as if he wasn't playing at all last season, because he was. Yeah, he was a bit part player, but Ten Hag still rates him, And I think if Fred was maybe younger, younger and had more time left on his contract, maybe there would be conversations about other players who'd be looking to move on this summer and not him. So, for me, I saw that and I went, really, 13 million, and that does feel like one where we're going to go. I get you have to sell him, but you could get at least 15, 20, or if you're going to go 13, put in add-ons, put in more money when it comes to that. But maybe as time goes on, and as we do get closer to the beginning of the season, and as we do get closer to the end of the transfer window, granted it closes at the end of the month, maybe that they're just thinking about time. They're just thinking, okay, we wanted more, but eventually we just got to let him go. We got to do something. I think in comparison, you do look at how much money we bought him for. We bought him for a lot. Bought him for something, was it like £52 million, I think, in 2018. So 5 years later, he's worth 13 million. My initial reaction is always to that is that's low, and maybe we shouldn't go that low. But I suppose your point is right, is that you just get them out and then get the players in you need.
Get the players in that you need. That's the bigger goal, man. Ten Hag needs a full squad. The Premier League now requires you to have 2 starting 11s. And Fred is good, and he's been a good servant to the club, and he offers 100% effort. That's what I like, especially in that midfield. But we want the quality now, and that's the next stage. If you want to compete in the Champions Leagues and get high in the Champions Leagues, that's the big goal, and that means getting rid of these players. What price? Well, you have to accept the mistakes of the previous regime, and it's killing us to this day. It's going to affect us, going to have ripple effects to this day. And one of those predicaments is you're not going to be able to get the best prices. You're not going to be able to sell on. There's no sell on value. Naturally, anyway, coming anywhere else other than Man United's a step down naturally anyway. So you're not always going to be able to recuperate the best prices. But it doesn't help when you got the previous regime paying astronomical wages to players that are not good enough. So let him go for the price, and then we look towards going into the market to get 10 Hag players.
A couple of members chats here before we wrap things up. Palmeiras has been a member for 10 months. Appreciate 10 months of support. Says McTominay, Donny, and Fred. Keep one, sell two. Who'd you pick? Big up to the community. So McTominay, Donny, and Fred. You have to keep one and sell the others. Who would you keep? McTominay
every single day of the week. Every single day of the week, you keep Scott McTominay.
That's an interesting one, Marcel. I think. Ooh. You know what? This might be a bit reckless for this time in the morning. Yeah. I was going to say maybe keep Fred, but I would definitely sell McTominay. You know why? It's because you can get the most money for McTominay in this situation. So I'd sell McTominay. And Fred, and I'd keep Donny. How about that?
Wow. Put
that in the Donny Van agenda. Because with that, then I would say, and if this is forced, I mean, I'd get rid of all 3 of them, honestly.
Yeah.
But if you're saying keep one of them, I'd keep Donny. And the reason why is because I'd sell McTominay to make most money. Fred, 1 year left on his contract. Donny I'd keep, and then I'd get an Amrabat, but Donny wouldn't be playing still. He still wouldn't, but he would just be there. That's the scenario we've been given. That's scenario, but ideally I'd get rid of all 3. Jadine's been a member for 11 months, says, Marcel and Owen, big up for holding it down. Question, would you sell Rashford if it guaranteed we would get Kane by doing so? Marcel. He looks pained.
And it guarantees we get Harry Kane?
Yes.
And Harry Kane guarantees that we score 30 goals in the Premier League?
Well, it depends what you think Harry Kane's going to do.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and Harry Kane would hit 20 for us consistently as well easily for the next 4 or 5 years. Owen, it's 20 goals a season, Harry Kane. But Rashford's just hit around 17. He just hit 17 this year and 30 in all comps, and he's going to do that at least for another 3 years. So I don't know. And we've just got Hojlund. We've got Hojlund as well. I'm keeping Rashi, man. Sorry, but
I would agree. I would say no. Find another way.
Yeah.
You can find another way.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, I know it's a scenario, and it's maybe not a realistic scenario, but I would say you can find another way in that situation.
But it's Harry Kane. That's the best player.
But I know it pained you. I don't know if I've ever seen that reaction from you, Marcel. That hurt you.
Yeah, that's the best player in the league, and you need that. That's goals. That's guaranteed. We were in the position that we were last season because we only scored like 50-odd goals. It was 60. Yeah. Harry Kane puts another 20 on that easily. But Rashi's definitely he will be consistent. Rashi.
I would say no. But I'd say find another way. And also, again, just very briefly before we wrap things up, with the Kane thing, he might go to Bayern. I'm still flabbergasted because by all accounts, Harry Kane would want, like, was it 575k a week wages? Bayern are willing to pay that.
Yeah, that's
wild.
crazy. Yeah,
that's crazy. But there you go. You can let us know your thoughts about that in the comment section below if you're watching after the fact, or still let us know in the live chat. But there you go. Appreciate you all tuning in this morning, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. More content coming soon. More vlogs from the US and a flexing KG show dropping later today. You don't want to miss it. We're out of here. Peace.